Sounds channel, aka Maverick Outdoors, and today's Sunday the 17th of February, and I've come out for an afternoon trek and ending up here after about 3.5 miles. I've got another, or just half a K. As you can see, those little mounds on the horizon there is the Iron Age fault that I've trekked to a few times when I did a little bushcraft trek in the woods preparing for going up the Brecon Beacons with some mates. So I'm out on this trek again. So this vid's going to be a total review on the Mountain House dehydrated foods and sort of aspects behind it. So I'll see you in a mo when I get up there. Okay, I've got my spot that I normally come to. Got my little padding kneeling mat, which is actually a gardening mat, but I utilise that to sit on as a thermal barrier. Got a little crevice here. I'm just in the lee of the mounds of this Iron Age fault. So I'll just quickly give you a brief on what I've got with me. That's a foil with paper lined absorbent sheet, so that's sort of thermal qualities that Roach gave me. I'm with Cockroach Mike when I was down at his retreat last year, so that's really good if you sort of get wet or fall in the water, hence why he gave it to me, because obviously I do a lot of canoeing, and it's got thermal qualities as well. Poncho, cum tarp, the container that the kettle was in, I also use that container to put my saucepans in, some water, rucksack with first aid kit, a head torch on the other pouch in the lid, other bits and pieces. So of course everything was carried in the rucksack. So on to the review. This stuff, dehydrated food, weighs just over 100 grams. It's got a shelf life of 5 years. Best before date is the middle of 2017, so a lot of these packs last anything from manufacture for sort of 5-6 years, and you can get the big tubs as well, and those tubs have a shelf life of about 25 years, all different meals, all different sort of recipes. But I put a link up because I get a lot of inquiries as to, you know, bits of kit, what I use and what have you. So to save you guys time, I put a link up on this review video where I got these from, which is Emergency Food Store, but I put the link up for there. They're a British company, they ship worldwide, but they're really helpful. They give you an SP on sort of deals and whatever. They have different deals each month. So what I've got to do is boil up 350 ml of water to put in there, leave that for about 10 minutes. But in the rush to get out here, I put some stuff out on my kitchen worktop, and I thought I'd put the spoon in my rucksack, but I didn't. So that's one of the first things that I can remember that I forgot to bring with me. So what I'm going to do, I thought, right, how can I improvise? So this spike here, which is used for the fire guard, for the wind guard, I'm going to clean it in the flame so it's sort of sterilised, and I'm going to use that as a stirrer. Then I'm going to use the lid of my plastic container. It's only sort of a small thing, it's about 2 inches wide by about 4. I'm going to use the lid as a spoon and eat with it. So you know, in a sort of survival situation, which obviously these foods are good for prepping, for trail food. You know, if there's a scenario and I was stuck up here, I've got to eat with something, so I'll use the lid of my plastic container. So anyway, I'm going to get the water on the boil. So this is sweet and sour chicken with rice. It says on the instructions, you know, you can season it with your own flavouring as well if you want to. So what I've brought here is some hoisin sauce, Chinese hoisin sauce, which is based of soya bean and spices, but it's a sweet tangy sauce, and I'm going to squirt some of that in there before I put the water in, just to personally flavour it to what I like. Sun's nice and bright behind me. Got a lovely view. So while the water's boiling, I'm just going to sit here in the lee of this slope and enjoy the views. Okay, inside each of these packs, and with a lot of this dehydrated food, there's one of these sort of like little sachet things. It's not consumable, it's not edible. It's like a deoxygenator which is left in the container, so it has the effect of absorbing any oxygen that might be minutely there, and which in turn stops oxygen from reacting in the container, in the pack with the food, and obviously makes it last longer. So, but you're most really aware of the principle of using these. When you store food, especially if you're doing prepping stuff, or you need stuff for a long term, you use those little sachet packs. They can range anything from the size of a postage stamp to about the size of your finger or thumb, I suppose. But they're used to help the food stay stored for longer. So anyway, I think the water's nearly boiling up. Yeah, not long to go. Notice I use the guard round it. As you can see, the flame's going directly upwards, which is where I want all the heat. So it isn't taking as long to heat, whereas if I'm not going to do it, but if I take this away, I'm obviously going to be burning more fuel, like I mentioned when I did the overnighter in the woods in the previous video. Aha, here we go. That's boiling nicely. Okay, the next thing you'll see is when I'm actually pouring it in the sachet to hydrate it all up again. But before I do, and to use that metal rod as the stirrer, which I'll use the L shape, which will be easier to stir it with, I'm just going to sterilise it in the flames, so whatever goes in to mix it up, just sterilising it. Put the water back on, bring it back to the full boil again and pour it in there and stir it with my improvised tool. Right, I'm going to judge what I know is about 350 ml, which is about there, just a touch more. Turn that off, save fuel. Now, and my hoisin sauce, squirt of that. Go in. Right, that's not quite going in properly, so I've now taken off the lid, so a little bit more can go in there. That's it, to give it my sort of flavouring that I like. And then just stir that up. Scraping along the bottom so it really gets in. I can smell it already. It's a really nice strong smell of the sweet and sour flavour that you'd expect to get from sort of any Chinese meal, with that sort of themed flavour into it. Right, in a moment I'll carry on stirring this, and the next thing you'll see is when it's all zipped up and sealed and then left to stand for about 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, so what you can see is sort of a little ridge along there, both sides. Just about see it there. And the principle behind that, one side is a groove, the other side is a bit that protrudes into it. So if you imagine there's the gap and it sort of fits in like that, if you sort of see your finger fitting in there, and keys that in, if you know what I mean. And then that seals it. And just leave that to stand out the cold, because a bit of a chill factor's kicked up with a little bit of light breeze. Leave that for another, it's already been in there a couple of minutes now, so I'll give that another sort of 7-8 minutes, and then what I'll do is I'll show you how I'll improvise and open the bag up so I can actually scoop the food up, because I haven't got the spoon. So again, improvisation, really good example of thinking, right, how do I stir it up, how can I concoct it all together, and then how do I eat with it. So I'll show you, I've got the knife with me, and I'll open the bag a little bit further and try and use the bag as a plate, and then I can actually then scoop up, use the lid to scoop it up, but you'll see that in a moment. All good stuff. Sweet and sour chicken with rice. Bring it on. So I just filled the kettle up, ready to maybe make a brew after I've eaten the sweet and sour chicken. But you know, just a quick reflection on you know, sort of dehydrated food and the purposes behind it. They're really good, as I've mentioned before, sort of lightweight. They can be used for sort of storage if you're prepping for long life storage for food. They can be used obviously on the trail, but what I like about them with dehydrated food is that you saw a little while earlier, before I actually came over to sort of pitch up on this slope of the fort, I did a quick view of a ditch pond. Now, I could source the water from there. To be perfectly honest, if this was going to be a real true sort of survival type exercise, what I would have done for definite is I would have sourced the water from there. But because I'm only out for the afternoon, you know, sort of time, convenience of time, being limited with time. But if that was a situation where I was using the water, which actually is just over the other side there, as I've mentioned before in some recent previous videos, if you can source the water, then it means you're not carrying this. 1 litre of water is a kilo of weight. So if you're out for sort of 2-3 days at least, you know, you're going to be needing to source or carry with you quite a lot of water. So if you know you can source it, as I've mentioned before, you know, from melting snow, ice, from streams, rivers, you can filter it and treat it so it's consumable and safe to consume, then with these, the world's your oyster. Because obviously now it does weigh a little bit. Now that's going in for, if that's 350 ml of water on average for some of these packages, it might range maybe just a little bit more, but obviously read the instructions and it'll tell you how much to get the right consistency. If you want it a bit more soupified or a bit more runny, then you know, you can add more water to it. But I've put the 350 ml in there, which is about 350 grams. So if you think, you know, sort of every milliliter of water is a gram, so if you've got 1,000 milliliters, that's 1 kilogram. So, you know, you're talking about carrying a lot of weight. And also with sort of pre-cooked food, MREs, pre-cooked, you know, they've already got the water in it, they're already hydrated, so you're carrying a lot of weight. So as far as convenience for sort of lightweight, if you're going for this type of food and you've got sort of 3 meals for the day, breakfast, dinner and evening meal, you might be procuring wild food, game, foraging, you know, for food and that sort of thing. But if you are sort of restricting yourself to just carrying the food that you've got with you to then consume, then this dehydrated food is a real boon, is a real bonus. Because if I've got 3 of these meals, even down to desserts, that's like, even if I had 4 meals, that's going to be about 450 grams in total for the, on average for the meals. I'd call it 500 grams, so that's half a kilogram. That's all you've got to carry with you. Times that over 2, 3, 4 days, times it by 4 days, then you've got 2 kilograms of these packs in comparison to anything from sort of 10 to 15 kilograms that you might have to carry around with you. I know you wouldn't carry sort of like 15-20 kilograms of tin food unless you had a trailer or bug out vehicle or something like that. But if you're talking about, you know, sort of lightweight convenience, then dehydrated food is definitely the way to go, especially when you have sort of recipes that are really varied. And with Emergency Food Stories, they have a really big selection. I'd say it's one of the bigger outlets and suppliers of this type of food, of the Mountain House range and any other stuff, and they're really helpful. They can give you information on water filters and all that sort of stuff, which is where I've started to get some of my kit from and bits and pieces, so they're very helpful. But I'll put a link up from that. But I'm getting hungry now, so you're going to see how I'm going to have to improvise this packet into some sort of bowly plate, and using this lid, which has come off my tea, sugar and powdered milk container, which is all in there, as you can see. I'm going to have to use this lid as a scoop. So again, if anything, this is just as much about an exercise in improvising, so you can feed yourself. I've got all the kit, but it's like, but I've got to put it in my mouth and consume it. So I'll use that rod to stir it, which did a really good job, and I'm going to have to use that. We've all heard of sporks, which is a cross between a spoon and a fork, and sometimes down the edge of the spoony fork there's a serrated edge so you can cut with it as well. But it's just made me think, I wonder if there's something, a lid, which can be used as an eating device as well. A splid or a lidork. Anyway, I'm going to be back to improvising in a mo. Okay, so I've used my Mora 510 to cut that off. Makes it a bit more handleable, as you can see in relation to my hand. And just scoop that out. Witness it now. That's good. The chicken, you wouldn't, the texture of it, there's loads of chicken in there. Nice tangy sweet and sour flavour. The meat, the texture of it, the flavour, you can really taste it. If you served this up and garnished it with, you know, what someone would like, it would be pretty difficult to assess that, you know, this was dehydrated. Obviously it's not the same as sort of freshly cooking it over a campfire and all that sort of thing, but it certainly serves a purpose, and it's got a balanced lot of calories as far as the carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Not necessarily equally balanced, so they're all the same, so there's a third of each: carbohydrates 1/3, proteins 1/3, fats. But within a balanced diet you need more carbohydrates and then proteins and then fat. But I say, when you look into these, if you are interested in getting these are really practical stuff. And I'm going to enjoy this now. In my improvised held folding bowl. But one extra thing as well, if I hadn't have cut that, it can hold anything up to maybe about 3/4 of a litre, 750 to about 800 ml of water with the whole bag. So once I've finished with it, I could still use it. If it says it's for a survival situation, I can rinse it out and use it as a container, as a vessel for something else if need be. So 2 uses there. But while it's still warm, I'm going to stick this down my throat. So bon appetit. Dehydrated, rehydrated style. That is good. Right, I'm just going to make myself a cup of tea brew now, and but as you can see, nearly eaten all that. So it's very very tasty. Tastes like the real thing. There's mixed vegetables in there as well, so it's not just chicken and rice. But say, if you want to use your own seasoning to flavour it, then obviously you can just add extra little bits to it. But yeah, quite impressive, as I say, for lightweight trail food. Does the job for sure. And as far as, you know, flavoursome type foods, this is the way forward, I think. So I hope this sort of simple brief review has been of interest and give you some ideas with trail food. And so I'll put some links. There's been some links on the video while you've been watching it, but for emergency food storage, that's where you can get some of this stuff from. I say, especially for guys and gals in the UK, in the States and abroad, you know, this stuff tends to be a bit more common. It's only been about the sort of maybe the past 5-10 years that you know, it's become near enough mainstream, especially with sort of prepping and survival and people being interested in outdoor pursuits. But say, if it is of help, then at least the links are there for you guys to sort of check it out. Anyway, the water's nearly on the boil, so I'm going to tidy up a little while, put stuff in the old faithful little 30 litre rucksack. Still got some drinking water for on the way, and then I've got to make my way, as some of you have known from seeing this place before, right over there, 2-3 times the distance that you can see on the horizon. Okay, that's where I was. That's my little pitch, little seating area down there in the lee of this little mound. So anyone will kit it up, ready to go, and off to make my way, as I said, right over there, over the other side. So it's now coming up to 20 to 6. I've got about another half hour's light of this time of year, 17th of February 2013. sort of northwest. Obviously west because the sun's just gone right over there. And there's a half moon. So I'm going to make tracks now, going back over these mounds. Get them down. Bit of a wind chill's actually kicked up. So once again, thanks for watching. I hope the dehydrated trail food sort of reviewy did give you some sorts of ideas, and I'll be obviously definitely using some of those meals, especially for lightweight trail packing, and also just to have a mixture of stuff really. You might be at base camp, you can cook something up that's a bit more elaborate, but then you might go out and leave base camp and eat something sort of lightweight. So I'd say the versatility of them is really good. So just going to enjoy this last bit of view. The Sunday evening sky. I'll just bring you back to this this bit of water here. It's obviously well contaminated, so it would need treating for sure. Filtered, boiled, chemically treated, whatever, however you want to do it. What I'd have done, I'd have got a millbank bag, filtered it out, got rid of the worst of the sediment, put it in a container and boiled it up for 5 minutes, give it a 5 minute rolling boil. And that would have done the job if I needed a source of water. So anyway, I'm going to say I'm going to make tracks. Thanks for watching, and say hope it's been of interest, and yeah, last bit of view, taking in the vibes. Anyway, I'll catch up with you in another video soon. Take care, cheers.